Good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well. It's Friday. We've survived week one. This is pretty exciting. At least I hope it's exciting. I hope it's exciting for you. I know it's been exciting for me. New poems for us to deal with today, but let me stall for a second and make sure that we get everybody into the room because people are still cruising in at this point in time. Still cruising in. Couple of points up front. My last check, which was just a couple of minutes ago, I've got 60 people who have taken the quiz so far. There are certainly still other people who need to take the quiz, so make sure that you take the quiz. It is due today before 11:45 p.m. It is due today before 11:45 p.m. So take that quiz. Take that quiz. Let's see who else is showing up on here. Oh, look, some bird with a knife in its mouth. Is that a picture of Tyler holding an umbrella? Let's see. And Leo, that reminds me. Oh, I did it. Yay. All right. I guess that's good enough. All right, so take the quiz, 11:45 today. Got to be done by 11:45 today. Take the quiz. Get the quiz done. Let's see, what else do we have to do? Got to do the quiz. Poems are due to me today. You can email them to me. You can submit them through Edmodo in the messages function. You can send me a Google Docs link. You can send me, whatever you've got. That's not a big deal to me. I'm good with however this goes. Just make sure that your poem gets to me sometime today. A3K is also due today. Lots of people who are already done. But A3K is due today, so make sure that you get A3K done. That would be in your best. It would be in your best interest. So here, there's a question: did I do everything that I need to for this week? Here's your rundown. You should have set up an account with No Red Ink, and you should have taken the initial assessment. If you've done that, you're done with that program. You've gone into A3K, hopefully. If you've gone into A3K and you've done two two-step lessons and you've done one five-step lesson, then you're good on that front. You should have written a poem and you should submit that to me today, and you should take a quiz. 3 of those 4 items are graded. They're already listed in the gradebook, so you can go and double check against those. I will start actually putting in green check marks for things that have been submitted to me, so you can see that I actually did get the information or the documents that you sent to me. Let's see, blah, 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 blah. Those of you who are asking, hey, did you get my poem? I can't deal with all of that today, unfortunately. But again, check Power Schools later today. Hopefully I will have all the green check marks in there. If they do not show up or your green check mark does not show up, let me know and we will make sure that we address that. Let's see anything else. The initial assessment, it would just be kind of a level set kind of thing. Yeah, so as soon as you log on to No Red Ink, there should have just been like a whole bunch of questions that they asked you one after another, after another, after another. So as long as you did that, then you're good. There will be a more specific assignment next week. This week, I just wanted to make sure that everybody got set up. All right, so we talked about that. This morning, I'm only at 44 people who have logged on to No Red Ink. I have a lot more than that. That seems like I'm about, I don't know, 32 short. That's not enough. So I did add one this morning, but still waiting on more. So if you have not logged on to No Red Ink yet, you still need to log on to No Red Ink, go back through Edmodo, find the post, follow the post, or message your friends and find out what exactly you're supposed to have done. Hopefully you can figure out how to do all of that. You can always message me, and of course I'll probably ignore you for a couple hours, but then I'll get back to you. All right, A3K is due today. Take the quiz before 11:45. Poems due by email or Edmodo message. I forgot about this. It's Fun Hat Friday. I have decided that on Fridays I will try to wear an entertaining hat because, I mean, why the hell not? So, Fun Hat Friday. Hey, really good news today. Really good news today. This is messing with the lighting. And I hope that's a GIF later. Or a GIF. I hope that's a GIF later. No, I hope it's a GIF. It's not a cowboy hat. How dare you? This is definitely a Commodore's hat. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. Today, this is totally messing with the lighting. This is not good. This will get a new light tomorrow. Today, we're going to do the poems of E.E. Cummings. And this guy is awesome. This guy is super awesome. This is great because GQ is just now walking into the room and he is going to see this and not understand what's happening, which is going to be perfect. Okay. Let's see. All right. Okay. It's what you could say it's a pirate hat if you want to. I don't care. Look like Blackbeard except ginger beard. Can we just go with red beard? Maybe. I don't care. Doesn't matter. Call me what you want to. Here we go. E.E. Cummings. So this guy obliterates the form. He just obliterates the form of writing. And it is fantastic the way that he does it. The poem that I've chosen, or one of the two poems that I've chosen for you today from E.E. is Dive for Dreams, which you see on your screen right now. The second poem that we do, If, is a little bit more conventional, but a lot of this is really kind of far out there and totally different stuff. And as much as anything, I want you to start to see that poetry doesn't have to be this, or it doesn't have to be this. It can be lots of different things. So I understand you're turning in your first draft of the poem today, but I want you to start to take chances. Poetry is a great, and it's an art form. Poetry is a great art form. It is art with words. It gives you the opportunity to do what you want to with words and language. For instance, I mean, already in the chat has blown up about parentheses and that you want to put half of your poems into parentheses. You don't have to really go to that degree, but at the same time, what we see from E.E. here is that if you think back to yesterday's poems, and if you think back to yesterday's poems, we did the poems of William Blake yesterday, the poems that we did from Blake, every single line ended with punctuation. Every single line. No punctuation. There's already a question, what does E.E. stand for? Ernest Eslin is something like that. It's definitely Ernest, and his middle name starts with an E as well, and I've totally forgotten what it is. Eslin? I think it's Eslin. I think. I should have looked that up before I jumped on here, but alas. Anyway, my big point here is there's not punctuation, with the exception of the parentheticals. And yes, we have a parenthetical in every single stanza. We have a 4-stanza poem with half of each stanza being a parenthetical. Oh boy. There we go. I should use blue because we are doing some kind of Commodore pirate themed day. So here, let's clear all of this and try again. So waves to divide things up. That would be more fun. Little happy little waves. All right. So this works great because the first word in the poem is dive. All right. So let's read through this poem a couple of times. Make sure that we're paying attention. Again, Declan is just now walking in. He's also going to have no idea what is happening or why it's happening, which is perfect. Okay, here we go. Dive for dreams, or a slogan may topple you. Trees are their roots, and wind is wind. Trust your heart if the seas catch fire, and live by love, though the stars walk backward. Honor the past, but welcome the future, and dance your death away at this wedding. Never mind a world with its villains or heroes, for God likes girls and tomorrow and the earth. All right, so think about it for a second. Read along if you want to. Maybe just read it for yourself if you want to for a second. And I will read through it a second time as well. Dive for dreams, or a slogan may topple you. Trees are their roots, and wind is wind. Trust your heart if the seas catch fire, and live by love, though the stars walk backward. Honor the past, but welcome the future, and dance your death away at this wedding. Never mind a world with its villains or heroes, for God likes girls and tomorrow and the earth. All right. So the big thing that I want you to take away from this is that poetry as a form allows you to do a whole lot of different things. Some of you have contacted me this week and gone, I don't know how to write a poem. I don't know what you want me to do, White. This is insane. You've not ever taught us how to write a poem. How is this supposed to happen? And I've given those people, some of those people, I've given them a 5-step process. And the 5-step process was, think about something that you care about, then write a paragraph about it, and then start to take that paragraph and turn it into something that looks more like a poem. So shorter lines, maybe fewer words, trying to chop away different things and try to make it actually feel more like a poem. And then start to try to make things figuratively. Try to make things more figurative. Ultimately, that may or may not work, but is at least a starting point for you. But here we see a much more extreme version of this, where it's just like, who cares about punctuation? Who cares about capital letters? How many capital letters do we have here? Oh, 0. There's exactly 0. Tip this back so you can. Oh, that makes me look like I'm bald. Let's not do that. Let's put that back on there. Okay, this is better. 0. 0. This is. Maybe you should have chosen a hat that would be better for the lighting. Yeah. Okay. Die for Dreams, or a slogan may topple you. I've already seen one comment. That one came in from Adam, and Adam's suggestion. Ooh, look at these people hanging out. Now they're in here. Adam's suggestion was just go for it. Don't worry about it. Is the theme, and I think that's definitely the theme. If you're basing it on these top 2 lines for sure, and we can probably continue on through that. There's lots of different ways to break up this poem. One way that you can break up this poem is you could just look at the top 2 lines in each of these stanzas. And if you look at just the top 2 lines in each of these stanzas, it does actually fit into that theme that Adam has just suggested, that, die for dreams, or a slogan may topple you, trust your heart if the seas catch fire, honor the past but welcome the future, never mind a world with its villains or heroes. So essentially, you do you. Essentially, is kind of what this poem is saying, at least through the first 2 lines in each stanza. However, there's maybe a little bit more to that. A couple of things to pay attention to. Die for dreams, or a slogan may topple you. Trees are there. Well, not exactly, but wind is wind. That one definitely works. Let's go back and do some erasing real fast. All right, let's go back and do some more writing real fast. So we have some poetic sound devices that are appearing through here. Trust your heart if the seas catch fire. Is this a thing? Why is this not writing? Oh, it's because I still hit the eraser button. Ha ha ha. Why? What's weird about this? What is weird about this? Let's see what starts to pop up in the chat. Nothing so far. Irony, Joey says. The Kang says the sea is the ocean and can't catch on fire unless an oil spill occurs. All right, that is true. Joey suggests oxymoron. I think we definitely have here. Something that is highly unlikely to happen. The seas catching fire. Again, Kang has given us a practical way that it could happen. So if you're, trying to be one of the villains in this poem and you want to set the seas aflame, you certainly could. I mean, it's possible. But by the same token, this is hopefully not something that we're going to do. Hopefully. Especially me, a seafaring gent like myself. Wouldn't want you to set my home on fire. All right. Let's go back to this. Let's clear some stuff. Actually, let's clear this whole thing and try again. So die for dreams, or a slogan may topple you. I think the theme, Adam's kind of chipped away at that, and we've already come up with a theme that does work fairly well. We do have the opposition of fire and water here. We also have the opposition that happens in the top 2 lines of this poem, whereas honor the past and welcome the future. So we're talking about both past and future. We also have the opposition here of villains and heroes. So we do see these dichotomies, these opposites that are being brought forward in each of these different stanzas, or at least pairs of lines. Ainsley suggests that the stuff in parentheses is the cruelty of the world, while the stuff that is not in parentheses is, why worry about what's going on. So if we look at that from that perspective, so if we now want to actually, we got to get rid of this. Let's change our color. Right in black today, because that seems like another seafaring color. Let's just think about the last two lines in each stanza, the actual parenthetical. Again, parenthetical, that's bringing back stuff from earlier this week as we talked about parentheticals. Parentheticals are when you put actual words in parentheses. Aye, aye, Captain. All right. So trees are their roots, and wind is wind. I don't know. Help me out. Trees are their roots, and wind is wind. Apparently, either everybody has fallen offline, or their keyboards don't work, or no one has a clue. There's some honest chat of I don't know. I like that. Slogans have anchors, have connections to keep them steady. You can fall. So we've got kind of a handful of different things here. So here, let's go back to this. So trees are their roots. What's he saying about trees? He's saying that the trees, it's not the stuff that you see above ground, but the thing that actually makes trees what they are these roots, the things that are actually keeping them anchored in the ground. And so anchor is a word that was used in the chat. And I think this definitely fits here. And then wind is wind. So he's saying, look, realistically, wind, this is the part where I do bad drawing and everybody laughs at me. All right, this is supposed to be a tree. And now if we have wind that's blowing this way, if a tree's roots only go down like this, that tree is going to fall real fast. But if a tree's roots are very complicated and pushing up a sidewalk over here, which is making it uncomfortable for people to be able to walk or push a stroller, well, now all of a sudden, this wind doesn't do a thing. So it's not necessarily what you see on the surface, but it's actually some of those things that are hidden from the eye that are really key here. So it's not like you have to be a superstar in the chat to be able to be a good student. It's really a matter of whether or not you're thinking about the poem and trying your best every single time. All right, let's clean this up again. Live by love, though the stars walk backward. This is always the part where I get to, and I'm just like, I don't have any idea. I'm not even sure why I chose this poem anymore. This was perhaps not wise. Live by love. So certainly, again, we have some particular guidance that is being given to us, though the stars walk backward. I think essentially we have another thing that seems impossible. The stars walking backward. The stars are going to go in the same formation every single night because the planet, it spins this way over and over and over and over and over. So the stars are always going to be going that way. There's not a way for them to actually go backwards. So he is talking again about something that is somewhat impossible. Honor the past, but welcome the future. This is actually my favorite stanza, and this is the reason that we actually even do this poem. Honor the past, but welcome the future, and dance your death away at this wedding. Who's getting married? Who is getting married? This is the part where you should be typing, hopefully, some kind of answer into the chat. Tang jumps in with a good answer immediately. I don't want to preclude anybody else from trying to get in here. All right, some good guesses. You're taking swings. I like it. There's a suggestion of the tree. I like the tree getting married. That would be personification. That would be super great. Honor the past, but welcome the future, and dance your death away at this wedding. The wedding is of the past and the future. The past and the future are being married. So when is this wedding taking place? When is this wedding taking place? It's in this moment, which is the present, which is fleeting, very fleeting. But essentially, he's saying, live in this moment. It's good advice. Yeah, you can honor the past, but don't be shackled by it. And you can welcome the future, but don't sit here and dream about what the future will bring, what the future will bring, what the future will bring. Instead, actually live in this particular moment. Let's talk about the last stanza real fast, and then we'll move on to our second poem and make sure that we get through both of these today. Never mind a world with its villains or heroes. Again, we have got that dichotomy of hero and villains. And then in the parenthetical here, we have this idea for God likes girls. God likes girls and tomorrow and the earth. I mean, this kind of echoes what we've seen up here. This kind of echoes the same idea that we've had up here. And that is, well, I'll do it. That's fine. I can do this. That is, there is going to be a tomorrow. God likes girls. God likes tomorrow. God likes the earth. God likes those things. So it's not like we're going to go away. We're all in this together. We're all going to have this opportunity. We're still here. So take advantage of what we have in front of us. Again, big takeaways. Punctuation. Capital letters. Those particular things, Adam, yes, I think you were dead on with the theme. Punctuation, capital letters, again, Adam's theme was, go for it. Don't let anybody or anything make you hesitate. Don't let it make you pause for any point in time. So punctuation and capital letters, you don't have to adhere to the conventions when we're doing poetry. You can go crazy. Now, again, this is one of the things where I have to warn you. I'm not looking for a whole bunch of parentheticals in every single poem. That's not what I'm going to be looking for. That's not what you should be aiming for either. So we do have this coming up. It's the part where we go back to the giant version of the hat. And then nope, that's not the right thing. Let's go to here. I'm going to bring up our second poem. Our second poem today is called If. It's also by E.E. Cummings. I'm going to go there. I'm going to go into here. This one's maybe a little bit more conventional, but not too much more. See if we can make that bigger so we can actually see it. All right, I'll read it through a couple of times and then we'll try to get going. If freckles were lovely and day was night, and measles were nice and a lie warn't a lie, life would be delight. But things couldn't go right, for in such a sad plight, I wouldn't be I. If earth was heaven and now was hence, and past was present and false was true, there might be some sense, but I'd be in suspense, for on such a pretense, you wouldn't be you. If fear was plucky and globes were square and dirt was cleanly and tears were glee, things would seem fair, yet they'd all despair, for if here was there, we wouldn't be we. All right, one second time through, and then we'll come back and try to do some more markup on this particular poem. Again, this one is entitled If. It really is not entitled If. Cummings' poems, like Emily Dickinson's from earlier this week, don't necessarily have titles. He wrote the poem, and then we end up taking first word or first line and making that the title in most cases. All right, here we go. If freckles were lovely and day was night, and measles were nice and a lie warn't a lie, life would be delight. But things couldn't go right, for in such a sad plight, I wouldn't be I. If earth was heaven and now was hence, and past was present and false was true, there might be some sense, but I'd be in suspense, for on such a pretense you wouldn't be you. If fear was plucky and globes were square and dirt was cleanly and tears were glee, things would seem fair, yet they'd all despair. For if here was there, we wouldn't be we. All right. So we got a handful of different things to pay attention to in this particular poem. Got some different thoughts already, and even more things popping up through here. So yeah, let me go ahead and highlight some of the things that people are mentioning. So we do have rhyme, and we do have a rhyme scheme. So as we're looking at rhyme scheme, let's try to mark this up. So night, delight, right, plight, lie, I. All right. Hence, sense, suspense, pretense, true, you. Square would be where are we at? E. Glee, nope. Fair, yeah, that one works. Despair, sorry, but this pen is not writing E's. That there, and then F and F. So we do have a rhyme scheme here that is clever, but it is also consistent all the way through the poem. You don't have to follow the ABBA or ABAB. Again, what Cummings has done for us is he showed us very clever way to be able to do rhyme, and this one works out really well, and it sounds good too. This one really rolls as well as you read it through, and it's not just me reading it. I want you to read this poem independently as well. Again, make sure that you go to winthropwhite.weebly.com/COVID-19. And you'll find copies of the poem there. Make sure that you actually go back and read this. Of course, you can find copies of If on the internet and other places as well. You don't have to go to my website. So we do have rhyme scheme here. We also have some repetition, which has been brought to our attention, and we should talk about the repetitiveness of this last line each time. There's a particular theme that comes through over and over again. So we have some different things to pay attention to here. And certainly we can continue to drill down even further, but let's try to figure out what exactly E.E. Cummings is trying to express to us at this point in time. Let's see what we've got. So we've got a whole bunch of different ideas that have already showed up here. Let's see, everything happens for a reason. We have some repetition that is showing up. It has rhyme. Goes from first to second to third. Hey, well, not exactly first, second, third. I do like the idea of that transition. We do have first, and then we do have second person, and then we have instead we have just a plural first person that returns for the third stanza. So pretty close, but not exactly the same. So if Freckles were lovely, now come on. As a ginger, this is an offensive first line. I'm not a huge fan of this. I mean, this is if Freckles were lovely. Well, come on, man. Not all of us can go out in the sun and then just look like we're bronze. Some of us go out in the sun and turn into a lobster and then come back later with spots all over us. It's not my fault. I don't like it. Trust me, I would be happy if I could go out in the sun and not come back looking like Grimace from those old McDonald's commercials. No? Reference right over your head? Okay. You can look up Grimace. He looks like this, except purple. That's not helpful. What are we doing here? I gotta get focused. It's Friday. Fun Hat Friday. All right. So if Freckles were lovely, so already he's taking shots. And day was night, so I guess Freckles aren't lovely. Day is night, day is not night. A lie weren't a lie. Measles were nice. So again, he's setting things in opposition. So this is similar to what we saw in the last poem, right? I mean, we saw those things that are diametrically opposed, and we're seeing the exact same kind of theme starting to emerge here. If all of these things were true, then life would be delight. That things couldn't go right, for in such a sad plight, I wouldn't be I. So essentially, if you change all of these things, you also change him. You also change him. Next up, if earth was heaven, That would be a big change. And now was hence. That's it. Now was then. Can't be both present and past at the same time. And past was present. Hey, wait. That's exactly what I was just saying. That's weird. And false was true. There might be some sense, but I'd be in suspense for on such a pretense. And pretense? Anybody? I could use some help on this one. Hence, I know. Plate is a situation. I don't know about pretense. Anybody got me on pretense? Anybody help me out here? What does pretense mean? Post tense, that's not helping. Past, not a whole lot in terms of answers today. You guys are sleeping on Friday? I guess so. For on such a pretense, you wouldn't be you. So on such an idea. An attempt to make something, here, let's go back and see what that says. An attempt to make something that is not the case appear true. So, yeah, so a scheme, a plan. If fear was plucky, so again, there's a change. If we make everything the opposite, I wouldn't be I, you wouldn't be you. If fear was plucky, again, we have things in opposition. Plucky is brave. If globes were square, hopefully those of you in geometry can actually make some kind of sense out of that part. Dirt was cleanly. Nope. And tears were glee, so tears of happiness. Things would seem fair, yet they'd all despair, for if here was there, we wouldn't be we. So again, really just kind of getting back to this general idea of we're flipping these two things, that if you flip the world upside down from where it is today, if you changed everything about the world, then it would make a very big difference for really everybody who is somebody, which I guess makes sense, because if you're somebody who actually tells the truth all the time and a lie wasn't a lie, but then probably the truth becomes a lie, which he actually says the opposite down here, then all of a sudden you're not who you were before. You're not who you were before. So this is also, and Adam is suggesting that, maybe this is a commentary on, you are who you are what your actions are. So, and I think that's fair. And this, again, if we look at this, I mean, as much as where I'm from, this is who you are. Where you are from is also who you are. So all of this is reflective of those same ideas. So as we're looking at each of these poems, and again, we've got another 3-stanza poem. The speaker is the poet. He definitely says first person here at the top, and I think it's fair to infer that this is the poet. We've just got another example for you. So while again, this is kind of the big point for all of this today, and especially with Cummings, I want you to see that the poems don't necessarily have to fit in those ideas of poems that you have seen in the past. And I want to try to give you a wider range of different poems to be able to have reference to, and to start to see that, there are ways for you to make choices to make good poems. Poems, realistically, from my perspective, let's change this. Can I just bring up a whiteboard? Beep, beep, boop. Nope. What did I do? Share content. Nope, that's not going to work. Oh boy, I messed up. That's embarrassing. On live poetry time. That's so embarrassing. There's a question as to where I got the hat. I have been on many, many treasure hunts trying to find the bones of old pirates, and that's where I got this. Now let's do this. I'll make my own white screen if it won't let me have one. Here we go. Poetry. Oh, where are we doing this? Let's change the color. Again, thematic. Poetry is about intentional choices. You want to leave out punctuation? Great. But when I ask you, why'd you leave out punctuation? You need to say, this is the reason why I left out the punctuation.
Wait, do it again.
Oh boy, hang on. Let's figure out who we still need to mute.
I'm not like that.
There we go. Done and done. So poetry is about intentional choices. So you need to be able to, that whatever it is that you decide to write, you need to be able to explain what the reasoning is. So if you want to leave out punctuation, you want to fail to capitalize, oh boy, these letters are getting worse. You want to decide to repeat a phrase. All of those things you can do in poetry, but it's a matter of you need to make those choices on purpose. They need to not be accidental, like, oh, I left out that period, so I guess I didn't want a period there. That's not good enough. Poetry is about intentional choices. I mean, intentional choices is how we get to rhyme. Intentional choices is how we get meter, how we get that beat to the poem. Those are intentional choices. Those things don't happen by accident. So as you are focusing, I want you to continue to focus on these things. Again, first draft, it's first draft. We're trying to find a diamond for us to actually polish and then sell later on and make a whole lot of money. That's going to be our goal. All right. So there's that. Make sure you get everything turned in today. Make sure you take the quiz. Make sure you do the other stuff. Thanks for joining me on this Fun Hat Friday. Hope you guys have a great weekend. We don't have class on Monday. They've told me not to have class on Monday for some reason. I guess too many fun hats. So no class on Monday. In the meantime, be kind to each other. Be kind to your family. Be kind to yourself. Have a great weekend. I'll see you soon. Cheers. Bye.